will have a presentation. Yeah, if you don't have the time, then I will ask you to record a video on your presentation. Is that so? Anybody? Yeah, can confirm on that?
Betul.
Betul ya?
Betul.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So I guess this is now is week 13. Yeah, next week is week 14. Yeah. So by week 15 we will finish our lecture and we will use that particular week, the final week, for your class presentation. Right. Yeah. So what you need to present. Yeah. Because I received a question from one of your colleagues. Right. One of your classmates. Yeah, you present what you have written in the report. Yeah, but of course in a more summarized manner. Yeah, you don't present everything. Yeah, you put in the PowerPoint slide. Yeah, and put the important points only. All right. Yeah, and the presentation should last not more than 20 minutes for each group. Right. Yeah, so if we have 36 of you, yeah, we have around 7 groups, right? Okay. Yeah, so one group 20 minutes the most, so we will have like we need 1 hour 40 minutes. Yeah, so that's roughly 2.5 hours. Okay. Yeah, but if you can expedite, let's say 10 minutes, then we will have 5 minutes question and answer session. Of course we can finish much earlier. All right. Okay. Yeah. So hopefully all of you are clear on that. Yeah. So if let's say you have 5 members, you would like to present around 15 minutes. So one of you should only spend 3 minutes, for each of your presentation. Yeah. So you might want to you might want to rehearse on that, prior to the actual presentation, just to see how long each of you will take, and that will be the best. All right. Yeah, and I will share later, before the presentation, on the rubric, meaning the evaluation part, on what elements that all of you will be evaluated on the presentation, because the marks is 10%, for that presentation alone. So make sure you do your best, you prepare in advance, and try to make it as interesting as possible. All right. Yeah, as I mentioned, even though I mentioned you have to present what you have written in your report, but of course to make your presentation interesting, you might want to include some videos, or audio. So depends. Depend on your creativity, on how to make your presentation as interesting as possible. Okay. Is that clear? All right. If you do have question, do ask me afterwards, either after the class, or of course via the WhatsApp group. So I shall proceed to the slide, on chapter 15. Make sure you refer to the to the edited slide, which I've shared in your learning. Okay. Hold on, I'm working on your attendance. Was section 1, right? Okay, go and slide in your attendance, starting now. Okay, so this is chapter 15. The topic is collective bargaining and labor relations, right? So later on in your semester, you might have one one topic, on industrial relation, as part of your law subject. So you don't have to worry. As for this chapter, we are not going to look into detail about all the laws and so on. But at least what are the relevant laws that is taken into account in the discussion of this topic. Okay. It's fun. Just join the meeting. Okay, first of all, let's look at the Malaysian industrial relation system. What is it comprised of? Okay, so you need to know, which departments are actually doing is carrying out the responsibility of maintaining a good industrial relation system in Malaysia. So basically, the head is the Human Resource Ministry. Okay, under the HR Ministry, we have multiple labor department, namely Department of Labor in Peninsular Malaysia, in Sabah and Sarawak. We have also one specialized department catering to industrial relations issues. Okay, we have Department of Trade Union, which deals specifically regarding kesatuan sekerja. Right, trade union is kesatuan sekerja, right? Also known as employees union. So you might come across a different terminology along the way of learning this chapter. Okay, the department in charge of the safety and health. So this is also related to industrial relation, or we call it other term for industrial relation is employer and employee relation. All right, because they are the one is in the industry, and so that's why they call it industrial relation. So meaning we are looking into the relationship between employer and a group of employees. Right? So the DOSH or the Department of Occupational Safety and Health is also under the Department of HR Ministry that made up one of the industrial relations in Malaysia. Okay. And manpower department is specifically to cater for foreign workers affair. So any issues, any problem with regards to foreign workers, is mainly taken charge by the manpower department. All right. Okay, so this is roughly departments which are involved in maintaining a good industrial relation system in Malaysia. Okay. So these are the act. I just you just need to know the list of the act. But what is inside the act? Of course, we have looked into it. It is being mentioned. All right, in terms of, for example, last lecture, we talk about annual leave. Of course, it is governed under the Employment Act 1955. So meaning when it comes to the issues of annual leave, medical leave, it actually contributes as well to the what I call this to the relationship between employer and employee. If let's say the employer gives or award employee less than what is spelled out in the act, then the relationship will not be in a harmonious way. Of course, it will not be satisfied as the employer is working working against the law by not giving the minimum amount of annual leave, for example. So of course there will not be a harmonious industrial relation between the employer and the employees. Okay, so what are the other act? Trade Union Act 1959. IR Act is rather comes later after Employment and Trade Union Act 1967. Okay, DOSH even comes much later in 1994. Okay, Factories and Machinery Act 1967, specifically this is more relevant to those employers working in the and Workmen Compensation Act 1952 to govern the foreign workers issues. Right, jadi kalau kita tengok Workmen Compensation Act ni 1952 sebelum merdeka lagi. because we know before the Merdeka, the British bring along many foreign workers from China, from India, especially to work in the pelumbungan, right? So that's why the act comes even much earlier before kita punya independence. Guys, what we call this non law student, to know that these acts are affecting on how is the relationship between employer and employees in Malaysia, right? Okay, first of all, let's me introduce to you important terminology that will be used throughout this chapter, unions, and labor relations. So what is union? You might come across the word trade union, or maybe I will use employees union. Okay, since saya teringat ni saya is anyone would need that. Okay, sekejap. Okay, and maybe sementara saya teringat ni, I receive a message from one of your friend, Syafika, apa nama penuh dia, Syafika apa Syafika, alright, who message me, to what I call this, to ask, for permission, not attending the class, because her father is in the ICU, so hopefully, all of you, who knows Syafika, either personally, or just by name whatsoever, maybe we can together pray for her father's recovery, insyaAllah. Okay. So unions, either trade union or employee union, meaning organizations formed for the purpose of representing. Jadi ni keyword dia, representing, mewakili, right? The members' interest, meaning members tu ahli kesatuan sekerja lah. Alright, representing the members' interest, interest kepentingan, alright, in dealing with the employers. Alright, so if let's say employees has an issue with the employer, if they work alone, if they bukanlah fight, if they what I call this, ask for fight for their justification, fight for justice, all on their own, the employer might not cooperate, but when employees are together, forming a trade union or employees union, they might have a stronger they might have more power in asking for a better treatment by the employees, by the employer, or asking for a greater benefit and so on, if that is actually deserved by the employees. Okay, so that is union. So union ni can be union yang dibuat, yang ditubuhkan oleh pekerja dan majikan juga do have their union. So kita akan tengok nanti in later slide. So meaning I'm trying to say but of course yang lebih popular adalah trade union of employees. Sebenarnya union of majikan ni dia hanya akan berfungsi ataupun in action bila ada masalah di pihak pekerja. And what you call this, the detail kita akan tengok nanti in later slide. So how about labor relations? It is a field of study that emphasize skills managers and union leaders can use to minimize form of conflict. Maksudnya sorry, jadi labor relations ni satu cara on how employers and employees can berurusan to manage conflict conflict that if not managed properly might lead to a very costly consequences, such as strike. Strike apa? Mogok. Kita akan tengok mogok later on, right? And the ultimate purpose is to seek win-win solutions to any disagreement. Pernah dengar kan, ataupun yang selalu dengar ke, alright, yang bekerja merasa tertindas lah, majikan menggunakan pekerja, memberhentikan pekerja sewenang-wenangnya, issues like that, right? So when we have labor relations, there is a system, there will be what I call this, a process, on how, on how justice is being practiced, or we can say, just to let the employees win, and the employees also, win, in what I call this, inappropriate form. Okay, dengan cara masing-masing lah. Alright, okay, majikan boleh untung, pekerja pun tidaklah rugi bekerja dengan syarikat tersebut. Alright, so that is industrial relations or labor relations, whichever term you prefer to use. Okay. Alright, so even Harley Davidson pun ada dia punya kesatuan sekerja. Okay, so let's look at management versus union goal. Jadi adakah syarikat ataupun majikan suka kepada kesatuan sekerja? If maybe we make a survey, I believe none of employer would like to have employees union, but since the law is there saying that employees can establish a union, so employer tak boleh nak kata no to any union by the employees. Okay, so kita tengok management versus union goals. So management union, of course, to increase companies profits. Barulah shareholder ataupun investor boleh menambahkan ataupun yakin dengan untuk berlabur di syarikat mereka. So that's everybody, every business, what you call this, ultimate objective, to gain profit. And the same goes with the company management. Of course, they want to make sure the shareholder, the investor are convinced to continue putting their money into the company. So they have to make sure profits are achieved and maintained over time. Okay, so how do they go about achieving some profits? So by lowering the cost. Kalau cost makin rendah, profit tu semakin tinggi. Jadi mungkin company akan make profit, tapi kalau cost tu lebih tinggi, mungkin profit tu memang ada untung, tapi not as much as when they can lower the cost, labor cost especially. Okay, cost gaji pekerja dan sebagainya. Right, and in general, employees refuse employees to establish union because why? One, they have, once employees have a union, they tend to ask for higher salaries, right? And what you call this? This will incur costs to the employer. That will increase the cost of output, the cost of labor, and so on. Okay. And agreements in collective bargaining or collective agreement restrains employers from flexibility in work assignment. Alright, maksudnya bila kesatuan sekerja dan majikan ni telah berunding, mereka akan mencapai persetujuan. Maksudnya mereka akan sign satu kontrak yang kita panggil collective agreement. Nanti kita tengok next slide, what is collective agreement. Macam kontrak lah, kontrak antara pekerja dan juga majikan. Okay, let's say union kata, alright, we want every year kita punya salary increment not less than 3%. Okay, dan majikan pun setuju, jadi diletakkan sebagai kontrak antara pekerja dan juga majikan. Right, so meaning bila majikan dah terikat dengan union in terms of giving this and that, giving this type of benefit, giving this much increment and so on, mereka akan menjadi kurang, majikan akan kekurangan flexibility. Okay, contohnya dalam kontrak ataupun collective agreement, perjanjian kolektif, right, saying that employer should not ask employees to work overtime more than 10 hours a week, contohnya. Alright, yeah. So maybe let's say the demand for the companies punya product is booming. Dan mereka memang kena ask employees to work more than 10 hours overtime just to achieve, just to reach the target output, for example. Okay, tapi since dalam collective agreement kata pekerja tak boleh bekerja lebih daripada 10 jam seminggu, overtime, so majikan lost, they can't force anyone to work more than 10 hours. So in a way, mereka hilang flexibility untuk assignkan pekerja, tugas di luar tugas mereka, for example, untuk asking them to do more than they are supposed to do as written in their contract, walaupun tugasan yang lebih tu akan dibayar dan sebagainya. Majikan tidak prefer kepada pekerja yang established trade union ataupun employees union. Tapi the major reason normally would be increased cost, right? Okay, how about union? Why union so much to establish employees union? Okay, they want to obtain pay and working condition that satisfy and give members a voice in decision. Okay, of course, the major purpose of employees union is to fight for better benefits and working conditions. Alright, working condition tu persekitaran kerja lah. Alright, let's say sebelum ada employees union, ada banyak kemalangan di kalangan pekerja. So mereka with the establishment of trade union ataupun employees union, they can demand for the employer to provide better let's say PPE, personal protective equipment, or maybe to change all the machineries yang memang dah worn out, yang dah broken frequently, to be replaced with a new one for the purpose of safeguarding employees safety. Alright, so they can demand better working conditions, yang termasuklah gaji lebih tinggi, benefit yang lebih banyak and so on. Okay, and they want voice in decisions. Meaning whatever decisions that the companies make, mestilah consult pekerja dulu. Alright, not to say that they want to overrule the management's power or prerogative. They want some voice in whatever decisions that the management is making. Jadi management pun kena alert lah, nak buat keputusan, let's say nak tukar waktu bekerja. Pekerja setuju ke tak setuju? Kena tanya dulu. Employees union. So in that sense, majikan akan lebih bersikap terbuka, right? And pekerja pun lebih happy because the decision is made in such in a way that it has mutual agreement antara pekerja dan juga majikan. Okay, and of course, union bila ada ramai ahli kesatuan sekerja, they gain power. Because of numbers. Lebih ramai ahli, lebih kuat. Mereka punya kesatuan sekerja. Right? Okay, and unions of course wants to influence the way pay and promotions are determined. Right? Maksudnya cara bagaimana syarikat mempraktikkan peningkatan dalam gaji, alright, bagaimana peluang untuk promotions, unions wants to have some say. Jadi let's say company kata okay, we will only promote employees yang bekerja dengan baik. Meaning pekerja akan dinaikkan pangkat based on merit alone. Maksudnya performance lah. You perform well, ada naik gaji. Kalau you tak perform well, you bekerja 50 tahun pun you tak akan pergi ke mana-mana. Alright, mungkin maybe union kata as to be fair, we want some thing, we want some reward untuk pekerja yang loyal kepada company. Alright, let's say if they have worked for 10 years, takkanlah tak ada promotion okey lagi, takkanlah kalau mereka tak perform mereka tak dapat kenaikan gaji. It sounds so unfair. Maybe union akan kata okay, for those yang dah senior ataupun yang dah serve the company for more than 10 years, they want increment, not less than 5%. Contoh. Alright, yeah. So maybe union nak juga ada say on how practice in terms of promotion, practice on how employers determine pay increment and so on. Because it all involve the benefits to the members. Jadi union ni once pekerja dah join, mereka nak lah kan, kalau tak macam just join bayar fee and then union tak buat apa-apa pun. So union ni want to show that they are functioning in a way that they are representing the members to gain a better working condition by the employer. Okay, and dia nampak dia punya konflik kepentingan di sini. Union want a better terms, conditions of working and so on, tapi management, of course, all those will incur some cost, which management sometimes do not willing to commit. Okay, any question so far? Boleh follow? Ke dah penting dah? Union lah, ni trade union, employee union is the same, right? Okay. Okay, so if you're doing good, let's move on to the next slide. Goals of labor union. As I mentioned, we look into what you call this labor union punya goals tadi. Of course, they want to make sure their efforts, their collective decisions, will benefit the members. So how do union go about ensuring that they can fight for the members, for the ahli kesatuan sekerja, okay, dengan cara do approach. Okay, the first one is check-off provisions, and the second one is union membership or contribution provision. Okay, kita tengok what is check-off provision. Ni pemotongan gaji pekerja secara automatik melalui payslip, melalui mereka punya akaun gaji, yang akan dimasukkan ke dalam yang akan dipotong sebagai union fee. Alright, meaning let's say I am a union member of UTM academic staff. So in my paycheck, there will be a deduction, RM5, and that RM5 goes to the employees union. Okay, so we call it check-off provision. So union has to deal with the maybe in this case the accounts department. Okay, but the management in general lah, the management in general to agree to act on behalf of the union, untuk memotong gaji pekerja dan dimasukkan ke dalam akaun union tersebut lah, sebagai yuran keahlian. Alright, okay, yuran keahlian, union fees. Okay, jadi tak adalah union kena collect one by one daripada pekerja. Okay, bagi reminder, bagi email. Okay, union fees dah due, sila transfer your payment of RM5 or RM10 maybe to this account. No need. So at the end of the month, automatically union punya fund akan dah ada fee daripada pekerja dengan kerjasama pihak majikan yang memotong gaji, deductions. Right? Okay, familiar kan dengan term ni kan? Potong gaji, macam even mungkin your parents pun ada buat loan dan sebagainya, potong daripada gaji terus masuk ke mana? Account pihak third party yang offer such loan and so on. Alright, okay, this daripada segi check of provision. Jadi dengan cara ni it will be much easier. Jadi pekerja ataupun ahli kesatuan pun nak bayar yuran, tak perlu bersusah payah. It will be deducted automatically from their paychecks. Right? Okay, and the second approach on how union maintain their power, right? Melalui number of members that they have. Okay, so how do they manage to secure a membership? The first one is closed shop. Ini apa? Kedai tertutup. Okay, closed shop in which they make every employees in the company to make union membership as a must, ataupun compulsory membership. Jadi di Malaysia actually this is against the law, tak dibenarkan. Tapi meaning sebab ada ianya boleh berlaku. Meaning union will make whatever effort to ensure that everyone joins the union. So the name, hence the name is there, closed shop. Tapi ini tidak dibenarkan di Malaysia. Nobody shall be forced to join the trade union. Okay. How about number 2, union shop? Compulsory membership after 30 days. Ni berilah ruang pada pekerja untuk berfikir. Mungkin especially pekerja barulah. Lepas 30 bulan pula. 30 hari, then they can decide untuk join. Ataupun sama ada mereka akan macam kena join selepas tempoh tersebut, ataupun mereka boleh kalau tak nak join. Okay. The third one is agency shop. Boleh, you tak nak jadi ahli boleh, tak nak jadi ahli pun boleh, tapi yuran mesti wajib bayar. So ini cara yang ketiga. So meaning because union needs some fund to organize their activities. Jadi kalau dah kutip yuran, siapa nak jaga account? So maybe they will have a small office. They need to register the union. Someone need to run and manage the accounts and so on. So they need to hire someone. So they need to have a staff. So yuran itulah yang akan digunakan untuk manage the activities and so on. So pekerja, ahli kena bayar fee. So tapi melalui agency shop, dia kata either you are member or non-member. If you work in that particular company, you have to pay the fees. Nak join tak nak join tu is up to you. Tapi because the reason is that maksudnya let's say union fight untuk dapat bonus for 2021 katalah, kita push majikan untuk berikan sebulan 2 bulan bonus kepada pekerja. Sebenarnya majikan nak beri sebulan je, but union push to have at least 2 month bonus because they know that the company is making so much profit disebabkan COVID contohnya. Right, katalah kilang sarung tangan kan. Apa nama dia tu? Top Glove. Di masa pandemik ni lah mereka keuntungannya berlipat ganda. So union pun kata ada banyak buat profit kan, so bagilah pada pekerja lebih sikit. So kita demand 2 month bonus. Alright, and 2 month bonus when let's say the management agree to award to employees, siapa yang akan dapat? Semua, right? Okay, semua pekerja akan dapat regardless whether they are union members or they are non-union members. Alright, so meaning if you are not union members but still you get 2 month bonus sebab union fight, then it's fair for you lah untuk bayar fee just because the union has helped you to gain that 2 month bonuses, for example. Okay, tapi ada kelonggaran. You tak perlu jadi ahli pun, just bayar yuran because your fee is all we need. Membership tu kalau jadi okay lah, kalau tak join pun tak apa, as long as you pay the fee. Okay, so that is agency shop. Alright, and the fourth one is maintenance of membership. Union kata okay, once you become a member, you must maintain at least for the next 2 years, subject that you are still servicing with the company lah. Okay, ataupun ikutlah maybe maintenance to for how long? Yes, 6 months, 1 year, or mungkin as long as you are employees of this company, you cannot withdraw yourself from being a member of the union. Bergantung kepada policy of the union. So once a member, you will always be a member. For how long? Depends on the policy of the union. Okay, so there are 4 approaches. 4 approaches on how unions maintain their security ataupun maintain their existence, kewujudan mereka. Okay, melalui 4 cara, but of course the first one is not allowed. It's against the law. Tapi ada dibuat dipraktikan oleh union. Right? Okay, we look a little bit on Trade Union Act restriction. Siapa yang boleh join, siapa yang tak boleh join. Okay, of course, as I mentioned earlier, semua pekerja yang boleh join union. Dan union yang macam mana yang mereka boleh join? Okay, mereka hanya boleh join union that is confined to their particular industry, establishment, trade and occupation. You hanya boleh join union yang relevan dengan untuk pekerja manufacturing. Okay, trade and occupation. Tak boleh suka-suka hati. Kerja bank nak join manufacturing sector punya union, tak boleh. Okay. No, meaning no general unions here for everyone. Alright. Okay, and bukanlah semua yang bernama pekerja inside an organisation are allowed to join trade union. For example, if you are in the management position, if you are someone who hold executive position in a company, of course, you are part of the management of that company. So you should set you are considered separate from employees at the lower level, because if let's say because you are working for the betterment of the company, you are the one who are responsible for the future for the perjalanan syarikat, keuntungan dan sebagainya, so you are not allowed to join union. Jadi tapi siapa manager, siapa eksekutif, sometimes depend very so much between company. Alright, okay, maybe let's say untuk let's say di company A, pekerja grade 1 hingga 10 adalah dianggap non-exec. Okay, pekerja grade 11 hingga 15, mereka ni baru exec. Contoh. Alright, tapi di company B, mungkin it's different. Non-exec hanya mereka yang bekerja di production line, contohnya. Okay, other than that, kalau mereka work in the office punya setting, okay, work in the admin punya bahagian, they are considered executive. Tak kira lah gaji mereka tu berapa. Gaji mereka, mereka just clerk aja ke. Once they are in the admin punya bahagian, they are considered as executive to the company. Jadi di sini ada flexibility lah on each company to define siapa yang mereka allow untuk join employees union, siapa yang mereka tak allow untuk join employees union, but in general, okay, those managerial and executive staff of the company is generally not allowed to join a union. Okay, because they are the one who actually bukanlah own running the company. Kalau mereka pun nak menyebelahi pekerja, siapa pula yang nak run yang nak fight untuk company kan? So that's the what I call this logic behind this prohibition, right? Okay, types of trade unions in Malaysia. We have public sector union such as QPEX untuk pekerja sektor awam. Okay, dan if you are in the teaching profession, those teachers, they are joining this NUTP. They can join, okay, National Union of Teaching Profession. This we talk about public sector, yang sektor berkaitan dengan government, okay, government link sector. Okay, dan kalau di private sector, of course lah lebih banyak lagi syarikat swasta, they have what you call this more options of establishing a trade union. Okay, it's either at national level, maksudnya di peringkat Malaysia lah, peringkat kebangsaan, okay, ataupun di peringkat syarikat sahaja ataupun kita panggil in-house union. Contohnya kalau di peringkat kebangsaan, maksudnya kita dah cover semua pekerja-pekerja bank di Malaysia. Then we have NUBE, National Union of Banking Employees. NUPW, National Union of Plantation Workers, covering all plantation workers in Malaysia. Okay, so that is at national level. Di peringkat negara. Malaysia lah maksudnya. Okay. What if the company wants to extend the membership to only people inside the company? Yeah, so union tu eksklusif untuk pekerja syarikat itu sahaja. Contohnya Malaysian Airlines. Okay, we have a Telecom, yeah, Berhad, Tenaga National Employees Union. So we call this tenaga in-house union. Okay, union dalaman sahaja. Hanya khusus untuk pekerja syarikat itu sahaja dan bukan syarikat-syarikat, pekerja syarikat lain. Right? Okay, clear? Boleh ya? Right, yeah. So we have talked so much about employees union. Yeah. Do employers can establish union juga? Of course they can. Right, ya. Tapi mungkin kadang-kadang ya bila kita baca news about strike, mogok dan sebagainya, it is more related to employees yang punya union. Jadi employees punya union ni mungkin kurang diketengahkan, alright. You will rarely heard employers yang go on strike dan sebagainya. Okay, for example in Malaysia we have Malayan Commercial Banks Association. Ini untuk semua bank-bank di Malaysia, ya, untuk majikan penyelesai lah. Okay, those in the insurance we have AIE, Association of Insurance Employees. Ya, ni kalau untuk pihak union. Right? Kita tengok sikit apa yang tiba gini. So kalau tiba perwalian majikan kesatuan bekerja ya, kesatuan pekerja. Right? Trade union. Okay, kesatuan sekerja. Right? Okay, ya. How do they into that particular contract? So they have to bagi together issues recognition. Pengiktirafan apa? Pengiktirafan union yang mereka tak mengiktiraf union. How do they did that? Maksudnya katalah pekerja dah establish union, dah daftarkan, dah sebagainya, and they want to invite the management to start discussion. Tapi management tak layan. Tak hantar wakil pun untuk datang berbincang and so on. So in a way mereka tak recognize the union. Maksudnya very important for union to get recognition from the employer, or else nothing can be done. Maksudnya union ada wujud, didaftarkan, tapi tak boleh buat apa-apa, sebab majikan tak iktiraf kewujudan that particular union. Right? Okay, mereka juga boleh membincangkan hak-hak pengurusan. Maksudnya kalau especially if the union have the feeling, have the opinion that the management is exercising hak mereka secara berlebihan, sehingga nampak berlaku penindasan dan sebagainya. Okay, so this can be negotiable. Right? So union wants to negotiate lagi apa yang pengurusan boleh buat, apa yang mereka tak boleh buat. Right? Okay, and the third one, unit security tadi. Contohnya nak collect fee daripada ahli kesatuan sekerja. So all these will be discussed in the collective bargaining session. Okay? And a more interesting part would be maybe only the best part lah, compensation and benefits. This also a normal what I call this item, normal issues that is being discussed during collective bargaining. Right? Grievance procedure. Ya, maksudnya kalau berlaku kekecohan, berlaku pertelingkahan antara majikan dan pekerja, ya, what shall be done? Ya, adakah kita terus nak pergi mahkamah? Adakah kita nak panggil third party, wakil daripada Ministry of Human Resources, for example, to settle our grievances? Grievance apa? Perselisihan lah, pertelingkahan. Pertelingkahan antara majikan dan juga pekerja. Ya, what is the procedure? What needs to be done? What is the SOP? First of all, okay, bawa kes, buat report polis. Okay, dan yang kedua, bawa kes ke mahkamah contohnya. Alright, so the procedure must be clear and it is agreed mutually by the management and the union members. Okay, and employee security. Jadi ni maksudnya union naklah satu assurance ataupun what is assurance, keyakinan bahawa pekerja-pekerja tak akan dibuat sesuka hati, diberhentikan ataupun dipindahkan ke mengikut keperluan majikan semata-mata. Ataupun maksudnya mereka nak pekerja ni ada jaminan lah. Jaminan bahawa mereka akan terus bekerja di syarikat tersebut kalau mereka tak ada isu yang menyebabkan mereka perlu diberhentikan atau sebagainya. Maksudnya tak ada pekerja yang akan teraniaya disebabkan pemberhentian secara tidak adil, ataupun bila company rugi sikit tiba-tiba nak buang pekerja, alright, that is against the wish of the union. So mereka akan bargain. Katalah kalau company menghadapi masalah, adakah buang pekerja is the only solution? Jadi mungkin union kata kalau company ada masalah, that's not supposed to happen. Kita nak pekerja adalah orang terakhir yang akan disingkirkan daripada syarikat. So because we want employee security. Okay, boleh? So we have CA, so we have CB. But CB come first before CA. Collective bargaining comes first before collective agreement. Collective bargaining is the activity. Collective agreement is the document of that particular contract. Alright, what else? Okay, yang ni you just boleh baca sendiri lah. Alright, we want to look into how employer and employees union bargain over a new contract. Jadi ni lebih kepada macam approach lah ataupun the spirit and how they bargain over new contract. So the first one, the last. Okay, the first one is distributive bargaining. Meaning the union want to make sure that employers and the employees again their part or meaning whatever let's say profits ke rights ke is distributed equally between the employer and the employee. Let's say maksudnya mereka nak ada pembahagian kepentingan. Alright, okay, let's say meaning whatever decision, 70% akan memberikan kebaikan kepada manager. Pihak syarikat ataupun the management. 30% kepentingan mesti diberikan kepada pekerja pula. So there is a distribution of kepentingan kepada pekerja dan juga kepada pihak pengurusan. Of course pengurusan they are the owner of the company, of course they will get more. Tapi pekerja pun nakkan mereka punya portion. Right? And integrative, alright, they are distributing the benefit as well. Tapi mungkin in a way it is 50-50. Win-win situation. Contohnya katalah in the collective agreement mereka bersetuju that annual salary increment should not less than 10%. Okay, ya, dengan cara tu barulah pekerja akan dapat mereka punya benefit dan company pun taklah rugi sangat. Ya, so both of them are in the winning situation. Ya, so that is integrative. Ya, bargaining. Okay, win-win situation. Okay, yeah, and bargaining also must be based on trust. Jadi kalau management believe that employees establish union for the purpose of asking too much, so maybe the management will never start will never willing to bargain. So the trust must be there. Jadi majikan pun kena percaya. Pekerja bukan suka-suka nak buat union, bukan simply nak asking for nonsense and so on. Alright, they are just fighting for their rights. Dan majikan pun mungkin will get a better decision when there is input from employees and so on. Maksudnya bila pekerja satisfied, they know their rights, okay, they have inputs to whatever decision, the company pun akan lebih prosper, lebih makmur. Alright, so attitudinal bargaining, or bargaining based on trust. Okay. Alright, and the fourth one is intra-organizational bargaining. So meaning whatever decisions that they are going to arrive at, between the employer and the employees, mesti mengambil kira kepentingan syarikat dahulu. Meaning intra ni dalaman lah kan. Maksudnya mengambil kira perkara-perkara untuk kepentingan dalaman syarikat dahulu. Right? So let's say katalah pekerja marah sangat dah dengan majikan ni, mereka nak go on strike. Mereka kena fikir dulu, what would be the impact? Adakah mogok masalah, ataupun bila pekerja mogok, pekerja mungkin semua akan diberhentikan kerja. So company mungkin akan dapat bad names dan mereka akan several decisions, whatever bargaining action must take into account the benefits for the company. Intra, okay, intra issues, isu-isu dalaman. Right? Okay, sikit lagi. Kita tengok strike. Pernah dengar kata strike? Okay, mogok. Mogok mungkin lebih familiar to you, sama lah tu, strike or mogok. So what is it? In a short term strike ni berhenti daripada bekerja. Maksudnya tak nak bekerja lah, bukan berhenti kerja, resign tu bukan. Maksudnya mereka masih seorang pekerja tapi mereka tak nak buat kerja. Right? So that is strike. Decision by union members not to work until certain demands or conditions are met by siapa? By the employer lah, of course. Alright, and normally strike ni either started with picketing ataupun followed by picketing. Okay, so what is picketing? Ni dalam gambar ni yang menunjukkan picketing. Berpiket. So we look at what is picketing. Jadi picketing ni dia berkumpul macam berkumpul beramai-ramai lah, just to let the public know that there is some issue, going on between the employer and the employee inside the organisation. The purpose to inform. So bila inform, sepatutnya picketing ni dibuat secara aman sahaja. Maksudnya of course lah, you will see scenarios like people holding sepanduk, banners and so on, but actually it should be done secara peaceful. Okay, this is the conditions for picketing. Shall not intimidate anyone. Tak boleh memalukan, tak boleh dibuat bertujuan untuk menjatuhkan sesiapa. Alright, for example, katalah dalam gambar ni, ada nampak dalam banner ni muka a boss, big boss at company. Okay, berserta logo, okay, boss kedekut, boss kejam, ataupun letak nama terus. Siapa bos kat company tu, dan mention clearly apa yang you tak puas hati dengan that particular boss. That is not allowed. Tak boleh menunjuk kepada sesiapa individu secara spesifik. Okay, sebab syaratnya tak boleh intimidate anyone. Okay, shall not interfere with the movement of into and out of the company premise. Jadi kadang-kadang piket ni dia boleh buat di mana-mana. Ya, katalah you work in a bank, ya, tapi you nak buat piket di depan KLCC. Sebab KLCC tu ada ramai ya, orang lalu lalang, so they will know. But the purpose is to inform the public. Jadi one of the syarat tak boleh dibuat boleh dibuat di kawasan syarikat dengan syarat tidak menyekat laluan keluar masuk ke dalam premis syarikat. So maybe one day when you work you nak masuk kerja, okay, you will be surprised ada ramai orang berkumpul di depan pagar syarikat contohnya secara aman, okay, bawa spanduk dan sebagainya, tapi mereka tidak menghalang lalu lalang masuk dan keluar daripada bangunan syarikat. Okay, so that is allowed. Unless kalau mereka picketing tu menyebabkan lori nak hantar barang pun tak boleh nak lalu contohnya, that is considered illegal. Jadi syarat untuk berpiket adalah secara aman, tidak menghalang mana-mana laluan. Okay, ataupun kalau katalah piket tu dibuat di somewhere on other place, tak boleh kata nak tutup jalan. Sedangkan laluan tu laluan penting untuk orang awam. Mesti dibuat secara aman dan tidak menghalang orang lain daripada untuk membuat movement dan sebagainya. Okay. Guess the last two slide. Okay, jadi strike ni bagus ke tak bagus? Mogok. Pekerja tak berhenti kerja. Pekerja tak bekerja. Of course. Bila berlaku strike, the effect can be very severe. Mungkin like katalah one day kalau mereka tak operate, mereka boleh loss maybe millions, depending on dia punya scale of operation tu lah. Right? So if let's say the strike goes on for 2 or 3 days. So you can imagine how likely kerugian yang akan dialami oleh syarikat. And of course, company dapat nama buruk. Dan if that particular sector, if that particular company is a major contributor to the country's economy, pekerja peraturan mogok is a very important, is a major sector contributing to the economy. So ekonomi mungkin akan turun terjejas. So ada impact kepada ekonomi negara, okay, kepada mungkin image syarikat, okay, and of course profitability and so on. So but actually it's not that easy. It's not that easy to employees to go on strike. That's why kebanyakan berita yang kita dengar ataupun yang kita baca di newspaper dan sebagainya, dia menjadi issue because why? The strike is done illegally. Sebab tu jadi issue. Alright? Because a strike ni bukannya simply boleh buat macam tu je. Suka-suka hati tak datang kerja. Suka-suka hati nak mogok. They have to apply. Alright, the trade union, the employees union have to apply kepada siapa? Kepada DG or trade union, right? And the process can be very very lengthy. Maksudnya I guess the procedure is purposely made in such a way so that strike ni tak berlaku lah. Normally maksudnya proses tu terlalu complicated. So in the end, mungkin by the time dapat approval, isu dengan syarikat dah pun berakhir. Ataupun bila proses tu terlalu lama, pekerja dah tak sabar, mungkin dah terlalu marah dengan syarikat. That's why they go on strike illegally. Maksudnya strike tu belum mendapat kelulusan daripada Department of Trade Union dan sebagainya, daripada pihak yang berwajib yang memberikan kebenaran. So, tapi mereka terus mogok. That's why it is illegal. The process memang sangat-sangat leceh lah, birokrasi. Alright, so I guess memang purposely government do it in that particular way, just to minimize the occurrence of strike. Okay, right. We look at alternatives to a strike. So instead of go on strike, kenapa nak kerja lah, ya, in which a mediator, ya, orang tengah, hear views of both sides and facilitates negotiation. Ya, jadi dia akan dengar masalah kedua pihak ni dan melancarkan proses, ya, negotiation antara these two parti. Tapi mediator ni mungkin tak ada kuasa, ya, tak ada kuasa untuk membuat keputusan. Right? Yang mereka hanya orang tengah saja, ya. Mungkin union, ya, dah ajak majikan untuk berbincang, tapi majikan tak hantar wakil. Ya, so mungkin pihak ketiga siapa? Ya, wakil daripada labor department ke, okey, ya, wakil daripada pihak yang yang tak ada kepentingan kepada sama ada pekerja ataupun kepada majikan. Ya, akan bertindak sebagai orang tengah, mediator, ya. Second one, company may use fact finder, ya, pencari fakta, right? Third party as well, okay, who reports reasons for a dispute. Jadi dia kena dengar kedua belah pihak dan membuat laporan. Laporan tu mungkin akan digunakan untuk pihak seterusnya, the arbitrator. Okay, and kalau sesuai, fact finder may suggest recommendation for settlement. Tapi dia still tak ada kuasa untuk paksa mereka untuk patuh kepada cadangan tersebut. Okay, that's fact finder. Okay, and the third one, yang selalunya arbitration ni, melibatkan arbitrator, selalunya ini bila kes sudah dibawa ke peringkat lebih tinggi lah, contohnya mahkamah. Okay, so bila sampai kes tu kepada mahkamah, alright, this is a conflict resolution procedure in which arbitrator, or mungkin board of arbitrator lah, selalunya mungkin bukan seorang je yang berdecision, ada dia punya board, okay, akan membuat decision, determines a binding settlement. Alright, for example, let's say the issues or the strike about to happen regarding working hours, right? Previously pekerja dah bekerja 8 hours a day. Tiba majikan kata, okey, kita nak bekerja 9 hours, 9 hours per day, dan 1 hour tu akan dibayar sebagai overtime. Ini wajib. So pekerja kata mana boleh paksa orang nak buat overtime. So when it comes to the mahkamah, okay, dia akan putuskan sama ada boleh ke tak boleh majikan nak buat begitu, contohnya. Ataupun mereka argue about salary increment lah, contoh, katalah, okay, ataupun bonus ke whatsoever, majikan union minta 10%, majikan hanya nak bagi 5%, contoh. So mungkin when it comes to the arbitrator, dah pertimbangkan faktor ekonomi, so many factors about kemampuan syarikat dan sebagainya, mungkin arbitrator akan decide in between. So keputusannya kena beri 7.5%, ambil tengah-tengah. Right, so pekerja union kena terima, majikan pun kena patuh kepada that particular decision, ataupun kita panggil binding settlement. Okay, clear? Mediator, fact finder and arbitrator. Can you differentiate between that three? Yang paling mudah kali kerja mediator lah. Dia hanya macam mendengar saja, mendengar keluhan-keluhan these conflicting parties. Okay, tak ada kuasa untuk buat keputusan. Okay, fact finder, dia akan dengar dan dia beri cadangan. Okay, union dan majikan boleh dengar, boleh tak dengar. Tapi arbitrator, it has a power to decide on the suitable settlement. Okay. This one, apa dia? Okay, so strike adalah tindakan pada pihak pekerja, or the employees union. Majikan pun boleh buat perkara yang sama. Macam strike jugalah, strike mogok di pihak majikan, tapi kita panggil dia lock out. Right? Okay, let's say majikan dah dengar dah pekerja ni, dah start nak mogok, so majikan pun cepat-cepat mengisytiharkan lock out. Okay, in the next 2 days company akan tutup. Pekerja akan tak boleh datang kerja, dan gaji tak akan dibayar. Right, sebab apa? Majikan mengisytiharkan lock out sebelum berlakunya mogok, ditakuti kesannya akan menjadi lebih severe. Who knows, the mogok might end up pekerja bakar premis bangunan syarikat ke, so mereka isytihar lock out in advance before the strike happen. Ataupun it can happen setelah mogok berlaku. It can happen either way. Alright. So what is lock out? The closing of place of employment, suspension of work. Pekerja digantung kerja. Berapa lama? Depends. Okay, it can be 1 day, it can be up to 1 month, right? Normally this is what happen when employer declare a lockout, right? And those employees who create a chaos, who create issues, yang jadi yang mencetuskan mogok tadi, mungkin akan terus dibuang kerja. Okay, because majikan do not want to re-employ them. Okay, after the lockout is ended. Okay, so it can involve three activities, three decision by the employer. Okay, so apa tujuan dia? Sebenarnya untuk paksalah union ni, if they are too much, you sampai nak go on strike, kita nak paksa mereka untuk accept the terms and conditions to counter industrial action taken by the trade union of the employees. Sebagai tindak balas lah, tindakan balas kepada isu kepada perbuatan action of the trade union members. Right? Jadi mungkin bila majikan dah declare lockout, mungkin pekerja pun akan fikir 2 kali. Kalau lockout ni nanti kita pun dah tak ada kerja ni, kita lost kita punya kerja. Satu apa pun tak dapat. Alright, so trade union might think twice sebelum mereka go on strike. Ataupun if the employer majikan berfikiran bahawa the demand of the union is too much. Nak kerja 5 hari seminggu dan sehari nak kerja 6 jam saja. That is too much. Right? So mungkin mereka akan paksa. Majikan akan buat lockout. Either you stop the demand or you accept the offer by the employer. Okay? So that is lockout. Penutup kepada topik hari ini. Okay, any question? Okay, semua faham ke? Adakah topik ini menarik perhatian anda semua? Mungkin depan ni boleh lebih faham lah bila you akan lebih faham when you come across a news whatsoever yang berkaitan dengan mogok, picketing, lockout dan sebagainya. Okay, but of course make this as useful as much untuk your future understanding of your work environment. Okay, so kalau tak ada soalan we will stop here and we will meet again next Monday for the very final chapter on chapter 3, safety and health. Okay, so take care everyone. See you again next week. Bye bye.